Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Sam from OnTableTop and we're joined by Colin from Battle Systems. How you doing, mate?
Hey everyone. Hi Sam.
It's good to see you again, mate. Now you're here to talk about something new happening with the battle systems,
Well, they
table.
are scenes.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that you've got tabletop game scenery over your shoulder there. I
It's
was
like the old logo, that one, yes.
yeah, so the something new happening with the battle systems tabletop war game scenery.
Yes.
And that is something I'm very excited to see, fantasy terrain.
Yes.
Now, of course, battle systems terrain has been around for a while. For those who haven't come across it before, can you tell us a bit about it? What exactly is battle systems terrain?
Okay, so wow, for the last 7 or 8 years, whatever it is, we've been making terrain for war games and skirmish games that's ready to kind of play straight from the box. So you can literally just open the box, pop your bits out, slot it together. There's no painting required. And when you're done, you flat pack it away and you can chuck it on your shelf in a box, or you can take it around your gaming club. It's that kind of thing. So it's very durable. It's quick and easy to set up. And, we're trying to kind of create all the different environments. We've had the dungeons, and we've had urban apocalypse, and we're having lots of sci-fi ranges as well. So for us, it's all about creating that sort of vibrant terrain for use of in your games, but just as importantly, to be able to actually go inside as well. That's what we're all about. So often with tabletop games, you'll get like a building, and it's great, it looks great, and you walk around it and do stuff for that. But with us, it's like, well, I want to go inside. I want my guys to be able to go inside and continue the battle down a corridor or run up the stairs and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of cover all of that aspect of it as well.
Hmm. One of the great things about it, battle systems terrain, of course, is that it is so modular. You can clip it all together in any way. Uh, when you were first designing it, why did you decide to go down the card route rather than, say, plastic or resins?
Um, well, when we started all that time ago, it was just like a couple of guys, couple of chimps working out a basement. Do you know what I mean? So we kind of we needed to keep the costs pretty low. So we actually started with print and play, actually, which was really successful. In fact, Beasts of War helped sort of like get us known at that early stage, with your backstage passes and stuff. We did some cool stuff with that.
I remember, yeah.
And then I moved on to something more physical that's, like I say, ready to go straight from the box. Plastic is very expensive back then for tooling and stuff, so we went with that. After a while of using and going down the card route, I realized that actually, in many respects, card can be superior in its portability, its ability to be pre-painted, its ability for you to kind of drop it down the stairs, and then when you get to the bottom, just sort of like pick it up again, and it's completely fine. It's that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So, and after a bit of time, it was very clear that I never really wanted to kind of. I always thought we'd upgrade to plastic at some point, but actually now I feel like going to plastic would be a downgrade, because cardboard for me is, especially the high density cardboard that we use, is just it's just so versatile for everything. And when done right, and you put it on your battlefield and it's all done, it just looks fantastic anyway. I mean, there's really not much difference.
Yeah, that's very true. We have used the battle systems terrain, of course, in the studio here to create some pretty effective looking tables. Now, this isn't the system's first foray into fantasy. You've had the dungeon terrain, but what will this new fantasy range be bringing? What sort of terrain can we expect to see from it?
Okay, so originally the dungeon was literally that. It was a dungeon, and we really pushed that out and filled it all up with lots of lovely furniture and bits and pieces like that. But it was kind of that one location. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're taking the rest of the fantasy world, if you like. So we've got your townhouses and your village and all that kind of stuff, and your ruins and your big open battlefields and your watchtowers and all that kind of crazy stuff. So we're back out on the tabletop, where you've got like grass and bits and pieces like that, and you're going to be able to kind of get all those locations. You're not just stuck in a little dungeon somewhere. You are going to actually be out there fighting in pretty much any sort of environment you want, really.
Excellent. Will it be compatible with that previous dungeon set that people might have?
Yeah, in many respects, yes. I mean, the original dungeon had a kind of because it was a dungeon, it had these sort of like ramps that went onto the walls. We've moved away over the last 3 or 4 years. We've moved away from that particular system. However, it's still compatible because if you've got our dungeon terrain, you can set up this lovely dungeon over here, and you can surround it by our original fortress thing. But that will be on a tabletop, and then you'll come out of that, and you can go through, and you're like, well, I'm coming out of the dungeon, and I'm going to go and attack the village, and then I'm going to go over there, and I'm going to have this fight in this old ruined monastery or whatever like that. So, in that respect, like lots of terrain, really, it's completely compatible as far as kind of moving things around and setting them up on the table. Also, a lot of the things that were inside the dungeon as well, things like bookcases and bits and pieces like that. We had these really great little bookcases with all little books that come off, and of course, it's all pre-painted, so there's nothing to do, just slot it together. And what you can do with that is obviously you can just take that, turn it upside down, stick it in one of our houses, because you can go inside our houses, and you've instantly got a bookcase inside a house, that kind of thing. So in many respects, treasure chests and barrels and bits and pieces like that will be compatible. There's like a little well and a little iron forge thing. You can just take those and stick them straight on in the village if you want to. So in that respect, it's very compatible.
Fantastic. You mentioned there like things like a ruined monastery and things like that. Were there any sort of iconic fantasy structures that you just thought, oh, I've got to get this on the tabletop?
Yeah, I've had these designs for when we did the dungeon. I was like, oh wow, I'd love to do a village. Do you know what I mean? And I'd love to do like the big open battlefield. And I put some designs together, and then we went down the sci-fi route for quite a long time, and we've got a course-based game, and that was 18 months of work. But it's kind of like I've just been dying to get this stuff on the table. So I mean, I keep looking over here because I've just got a load of stuff over here on the table, and I can see over here I've got a nice big tavern, which is really nice. You can lift the roof off, go in the top level, lift it off, go in the under levels.
Oh, you've got to have a tavern.
Yeah, got to have a tavern. Yeah, I've got the classic sort of townhouse. I've got like a stores house. There's like a little lakeside housey thing, a little smithies thing that we've got going over there. Guard huts. I've got a ruined monastery as well. I've got lots of really cool things, all the things that bring it to life, which is what Battle Systems is all about, which is like all the fences and the little bridges and the wells and the little chests and various other things. I've got a lovely, great big watchtower, which I'm looking at now. Palisade walls, stone walls. Just looking over here, some other stuff that I can't talk about yet. So,
you can't leave us hanging there now.
Some things. There's some things. There's some things that are coming. So I'm literally working on the tools now. I've got a load of tool sheets laid out that I can see here, which I'm kind of arranging stuff to make sure it all fits on the sheets. So all the iconic things that you'd expect to see in a village or whatever.
This is so tantalizing. If only we could just get your camera to pan slightly to the right there, we could get to see all these fantasy terrains here.
I could probably move it a little bit, but I'm worried I might knock my microphone over.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, of course, you said how before you want this to be compatible with a lot of different game systems. How did you keep that in mind? What sort of games do you think people will play on this terrain, and how did you make sure it was suitable for any that people might like to play?
Well, the beauty of most games are that in many respects they're kind of all compatible with themselves, if you know what I mean. So they're all following the same kind of. I don't want to use the word generic because that sounds really boring, doesn't it? But they follow those same rules. Generally they're all around about 28 to 35, I guess, millimeter in size, etc. So scale-wise, it's going to be compatible immediately. And then you've got really there's different types of games. So, for example, you've got Kings of War. You've got Kings of War, great big war game, but also a skirmish game with Vanguard. We've kind of made things compatible so that you're able to play that as a war game. So you could take our basic pledge and kind of spread that out and make a war game table. There's enough room for you to move your troops on the trays and everything through all the spaces. and you'll have a beautiful table full of amazing terrain that you can kind of store away really effectively. But if you want to go skirmish, Vanguard, for example, you'd be able to then, compact that all down and make your tight little sort of like cobbled street villages, and sort of have like battles through that as well. And that goes not just for that. You've got things like a Song of Fire, of Ice and Fire as well. We've made sure that we've got walls at particular lengths so that it kind of follows straight in with that game. You can say, well, I need to put these 6 terrain pieces down, and the lengths are correct, etc. D&D, of course, I shouldn't ever forget that. The gazillion, whatever Googleplex of different ways to play. Frostgrave, Mordheim, crikey, Rangers of Shadow Deep, Age of Sigmar, just whatever fantasy game within reason you're playing, I guess, unless the miniatures are like this big or something. It's kind of ready, because, like I say, you can have this as a war game if you want, and you can set it all up in your buildings, but you can also bring it down and make it skirmish game. And of course, because our buildings, you can go inside all of our buildings, you've immediately got, like, on a 3x3, you've got the battlefield with the buildings on it, but you get all that extra gaming space because you can run up, open a door, run inside, and just continue the battle inside.
Excellent. Yeah, having that ability to flow from interior to exterior gameplay scenarios, I think that really adds to the cinematic feel of the game.
It does, yeah, and maybe I should have said earlier on, but one of the things about battle systems when I was gaming myself was when I was I'm 45, so when I was like 13 when I started, the biggest problem for me was that I couldn't get inside anything, so I had to kind of make that myself. And it was really, really frustrating because you'd spend hours and hours making terrain things, and then you'd play like a couple of games or whatever like that because you kind of burnt yourself out making and just creating, which is a great platform for where I am now. But for me, I never wanted to break the immersion. I didn't like the idea of saying, right, I'm going inside this building and then having to go over to another place over here and say, right, here we are on some tiles inside a building. I wanted to be able to say, well, that building's right there. Why can't I be inside that building? And so for me, it's really important to be able to just be able to go, hey, lift the roof straight off. Now I'm in there. And you know what? I'm going to go upstairs and through the little trapdoor that we've got, and I'm going to go, boop, I'm going to get up. And now I'm upstairs, and I'm going to open that window and I'm going to shoot that guy. Because look, I can see him. I can see my line of sight. I'm standing at that window and I can just shoot directly through and say, right, there you go. There's no ambiguity there as far as I'm concerned. It's like, here's my village or whatever. Here is my table. Where do you want to go? You can go anywhere you like.
Excellent. Yeah. I hadn't actually considered that, but I do remember that frustration back when I was playing like Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and then if I wanted to take the battles inside, it would have to switch to Mordheim or something. So yeah, having that crossover.
Yes, absolutely. And I had some of those Mordheim buildings many, many years ago, and I used them in, both, even in, Warhammer 40k at the time, creating my own little skirmish game, because they're just there's something really nice to be able to run around a building and sort of like, run across a plank into another ruin and shoot from a window. There's, everything is right in front of you. There's a battlefield there. And for me, it's very important that if I'm playing on that battlefield, that everything stays right there, because then that's immersion. There's nothing to take me away from the game and the feel of the game that I'm playing.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned there have been some upgrades since like the dungeons previous system. What are some of are there any changes or upgrades that you've brought to this new system? What were some of the challenges in designing it?
Okay, so basically, upgrade-wise, the dungeons 4 years ago, probably 4 at least, maybe longer, I don't know.
I think 4, yeah.
Yeah, so since then, we've really put a lot of work into all of our training. You'll see a lot of the upgrades in our Urban Apocalypse and all our sci-fi ranges and in Core Space. So, back then, if we had a little crate or something like that, it would be a decoration crate. Well, now you can go inside the crates. You can open, we've got like a little chest, and you'll be able to open. Let's see if I can grab one. Got like a little...
We've lost him. He's gone.
From across the room.
Oh, thank goodness he's back.
A giant hand reached inside the village and picked up a little... So you got like a little... try and get the light on this. You got like a little treasure chest here, and you can click that closed.
Be careful, Colin. It might be a mimic.
So you can, yeah, so it's that kind of detail. One thing I've been waiting to do as well is like having like doors and windows that open. I could do it on the sci-fi, but it's not really within the genre because a
Yeah.
sci-fi door tends not open like this. It tends to slide away. So all our doors up to this point, you sort of push it out and remove it, and then when the doors close, you put it back in play. Perfect for sci-fi, but not for fantasy because doors didn't have like retracting doors and stuff. So we've got opening doors, opening windows, go inside the little bits and pieces, inside the rooms and things like that. So I guess it's fair to say over the last 4 years we've totally upgraded, the way that the scenery works, and we're pretty much well known now for pushing the technology of cardboard to the point where you just look at it and just like it doesn't look like cardboard anymore.
Mm.
You said about the challenges with the fantasy terrain. Really, for me, the biggest challenge was getting back into the genre. I've spent like the last 3 or 4 years in, more modern, certainly in the sci-fi kind of mindset. So for me, it was a case of, changing my music playlist in the background straight away so that I had sort of like, Lord of the Rings music on instead of sort of Firefly or something like that. And generally looking at the just doing a lot of research and just looking into the fantasy buildings and trying to capture that kind of feel. So we've got the lovely curved roofs and the kind of the beam work and the getting that textures, getting that color palette down to that kind of real nice fantasy kind of almost kind of run down dirty kind of and I've looked at there's various inspirations there, everywhere from the Tolkien kind of thing through to almost Monty Python,
Yeah.
so that there's the biggest challenge really was getting my mindset back into that fantasy kind of theme, and well, now I'm right in the thick of it. I'm just like, yeah, I can't see anything else.
Mm. Well, fantasy is my preferred genre. So as soon as I saw these houses and these towers and things, I was just, oh, I want this table layer. I really wanted a table of this. Uh, Now, the Kickstarter itself, the plans are for a village and a battlefield
Yes.
terrain set. Do you have any plans beyond that?
Well, right now, yeah. We've got the village, and you can, like I say, you can set the village up as a skirmish, or you can set it out into sort of a more war game, and you can do the same with the battlefield as well. So you can push it to skirmish, and you can separate it up. We've definitely got plans for some other stuff as well, and yeah, we've got. I mean, this is a battle system, so what tends to happen is whilst the Kickstarter is running, we'll be watching the comments and people are making suggestions and stuff like that. It's a crazy way to do it. And then we kind of like, I'll have some stuff prepared, but generally someone, people will be saying certain things and I'll be working on it. And then, a bit like in Core Space, everyone was like, we want a shuttle, we want a shuttle. And I was like, how can I make a shuttle? How's it going to work? But we did it. And I did it while the Kickstarter was running. So we've got some ideas, that we want to push forward, and you might even see an entirely new pledge level at some point through the campaign as well. Trying not to give away any secrets here.
Oh, please spill a few secrets.
Sip of my tea quickly to shut me up.
That is a suitably epic mug you've got there. I approve. Now, before I let you go here, of course, with the battle system sci-fi terrain that came first, and then we had core space. Are we going to see something similar happen with fantasy?
Oh God, I've got to. I mean, I've got so many cool ideas. The Can I just say yes and deny it later on if I can't do it? But yeah, absolutely. We've got to. Core space has been such a success that, and I enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy it to the point where at the moment, because I'm working so hard on the Kickstarter, I haven't played a game of Core Space for nearly 3 weeks, and it's driving me absolutely nuts. I'm halfway through a campaign, and my game guy that comes over and does it with me is going sort of cold turkey as well. So now, for the fantasy game, yes, without a doubt, I've got designs backstory. We've already kind of decided what and where and how that universe looks like, and yeah. I just want to say yes. We got to do it. We've absolutely got to do it.
Yeah,
because I've just really want to do it.
definitely. I want in on that one. That sounds fun. To explore a fantasy world like that sounds a lot of fun.
Well, it will be. I mean, the mechanic's already there for core space, and the mechanic is absolutely solid, and it can be adapted but twisted to that fantasy genre really, really easily. We've sort of already done it, so yeah, very exciting.
That actually answers my next question, which was going to be: is it going to build upon the core space mechanic, or
Totally? Yeah, that mechanic originally core space was a mechanic that I've played over the many years for various different games. So if I'm into Batman at the time, I can adapt the mechanic to use as a Batman game. If I'm into whatever I'm into at the time, I can move it towards, Star Wars, great, I'll do the thing. Skill points become, force points and, all that kind of stuff. So the mechanic is really versatile. The trick is to port the basic mechanic, but at the same time then bringing in, making the changes that are really, really important for fantasy, and how you Core Space works really, really well because it's a really kind of narrative, immersive game, but plays really quick. So what we've got to be able to do is to bring that fantasy immersion into the fantasy version of the game, and oh yeah, I got some cracking ideas. Just so busy with everything else that I just can't get to it.
Yeah, as long as I can play a halfling rogue, I'm sold. That's all I need in life.
Let me just make a little note.
You got one sale right there for a halfling rogue being in the game.
There you go, sorted.
Excellent.
No promises.
No, we've got you on camera now. That counts. That's how that works.
I've actually written it down as well.
Brilliant. I've contributed. Okay. I said that word weird. Colin, thank you so much for coming aboard and letting us know everything that's happening with Battle Systems Fantasy Terrain.
You are more than welcome. Thanks for having me.
If you want to find out more about the Battle Systems Fantasy Terrain, I cannot say words today. The Battle Systems Fantasy Terrain, please head over to the Kickstarter and check it out, and make sure to leave a comment below letting us know what buildings from a fantasy world you'd like to go explore.